Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. You know, it's funny. We interact with it every day, multiple times a day. But how often do we really think about the written word?
Yeah.
I mean, like how it came to be, what it really did to society and to humans.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into that with some help from Yuval Noah Harari.
Yeah.
We're going to be drawing on Sapiens, Homo Deus, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, even his fiction Nexus, to really kind of see, this thing that's so ubiquitous in our lives, how it really revolutionized information networks, and maybe how it's still, shaping us in ways we don't even realize.
Right. It's one of those things that's so basic to our experience that we kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, early human societies, small bands of hunter-gatherers,
Right.
Their main form of communication was just, gossip.
Really, just gossip.
I mean, what else was there, before writing? It was
Okay.
whispers, rumors, stories around the campfire. That was it.
So, I mean, I could see how that would work on a small scale, like a small tribe or family group.
Sure.
But how far could you really get with just gossip?
Not very. I mean, imagine trying to, run an empire based on whispers and rumors.
Right.
Chaos.
Yeah, that'd be a disaster.
Gossip's so unreliable, it changes every time it's retold. You can't preserve it.
It's like a game of telephone. By the end, the message is completely different.
Exactly.
So those early societies, I guess they had to stay pretty small, pretty simple.
Right. Yeah, they were limited until
Until what? Dun, dun, dun.
writing. That was the game changer.
Ah, okay. So we're finally getting to those cuneiform tablets. I got to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Back in school, those little wedge-shaped marks on clay,
Yeah.
they never really seemed that impressive.
Well, give those ancient scribes some credit. What they created was revolutionary. It was like humanity's first external hard drive.
Whoa.
Suddenly information could be stored outside the human brain. You didn't have to rely on memory alone, which, let's be honest, can be pretty faulty.
Right, so no more forgetting the grocery list, or in their case, I guess, which berries are poisonous or something.
Exactly. And that had a massive impact on how societies organized themselves. Think about the Qin dynasty in ancient China. They used writing to build and manage this vast empire.
Really? The Qin dynasty? Wow, okay.
I'm talking about collecting taxes, issuing decrees, mobilizing armies, stuff you just couldn't do without a reliable way to store and transmit information.
So writing goes from helping small groups keep track of stuff to being essential for building empires.
Yeah, it's a big leap. And it's not just about practical stuff either. Writing let humans create and share stories that could bind them together on a much larger scale.
Okay, I mean, I get it. Stories are powerful, but how is that different from the gossip we were talking about before?
Think about it. Before writing, stories were limited by what people could remember. And like we said, memory's unreliable.
Right.
With writing, those stories could be, fixed, standardized.
I see.
You could transmit them across huge distances, across generations. It's like the difference between, a campfire story that changes with every telling.
Okay.
And a sacred text that's been copied and studied for centuries.
Right, like a religious text. It's the same story no matter who's reading it.
Precisely. Think about religions like Christianity or Islam.
Mm-hmm.
They have these holy books.
Right.
These books created a shared narrative. Beliefs, values connected millions across the globe. This was a new kind of information network, not just personal connections anymore, but a shared belief system.
So these huge interconnected communities, all united by a single narrative.
Yeah, that's the power of writing.
Wow, okay. It all sounds pretty amazing, but was it all good? I mean, there must have downsides, right?
You're right. Writing wasn't just about storing information. It was about retrieving it. And as those written records piled up, scrolls, tablets, books, finding the specific piece of information you needed, that became a major challenge.
It's like my email inbox, thousands of messages, and good luck finding the one you need.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did they cope with this information overload?
Well, humans are ingenious, right?
Yeah.
They came up with ways to manage it. Libraries, archives, indexes, all these systems to organize, to classify information, to make it easier to find. But there was another layer to this. Remember the Qin dynasty?
Mm-hmm.
Their use of writing wasn't just about efficiency. It was about control.
Ah, okay. So you're saying controlling information becomes another form of power.
Whoever controls the information controls the narrative. And that brings us to another challenge, interpreting those written records,
Yeah, okay.
especially religious texts. The idea was to bypass human fallibility,
Okay.
establish a single, unchanging truth.
Sounds good in theory. How'd that work out in practice? Did they manage to avoid the human element?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It always comes back to us, the humans. Who gets to interpret those sacred texts? You can't escape that. So religious institutions emerge
Right.
to interpret scripture. And guess what happens? Competing interpretations. And you know what comes next? Power struggles.
Okay, so the attempt to create this infallible source of truth
Yeah.
leads to more arguments and interpretations. That's pretty ironic.
It's the human paradox. I mean, even with something like the U.S. Constitution,
Oh, yeah.
it's intended to be this clear blueprint for government, but throughout history, different groups have interpreted it in wildly different ways.
Right.
Huge debates about its true meaning and intent.
It's still happening today. I guess even with a written document, there's no escaping, the messiness of human interpretation and debate.
Nope, not really. And that brings us to another major turning point, the printing press.
Ooh.
This is a game changer. But like all game changers, it comes with its own set of challenges, unintended consequences.
Okay, so we've gone from gossip to empires to libraries, and now we're on the verge of mass production. This is getting really interesting. But before we jump into the printing press, can we go back to something you mentioned earlier about how writing shaped the Qin dynasty? I mean, you said it had this lasting impact. What exactly do you mean?
Right. It wasn't just a short-term strategy for managing an empire. The way they used writing, it laid the groundwork for China's whole history. Centralized power, bureaucracy, reverence for the written word. It all starts there.
Wow, so those early writing systems, they're still echoing in China today.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how even simple innovations can have these ripple effects that last for centuries. But, you're right. We should get to the printing press.
Yes. I'm dying to know what happened. Did we live up to the hype?
Oh, the printing press was a marvel, no doubt about it. Democratized access to information like nothing before. But like any powerful tool, it also came with the dark side.
Oh, okay. Now I'm a little worried. What kind of dark side are we talking about here?
Imagine it's like giving everyone a loudspeaker.
Okay, yeah.
Some will use it to share knowledge.
Right.
Others will use it to spread misinformation, so discord.
Okay, so what kind of misinformation? Was it like as bad as what we see online today?
Well, one chilling example is this book called the Malleus Maleficarum.
Malleus Maleficarum, okay.
It was a witch hunting manual published in 1486. And thanks to the printing press, it spread all across Europe like wildfire.
Wow.
Laid the groundwork for centuries of witch hunts and persecution.
So instead of this age of reason enlightenment that we associate with the printing press, it also amplified some of humanity's darker impulses.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that technology is a double-edged sword, right? It can be used for good or for evil. It
doesn't make us better or worse. It just kind of gives us more power to be what we already are.
Exactly. The printing press didn't it inherently make society more rational or humane. It just amplified what was already there.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to another key point, I think. The stories we tell ourselves, the narratives that shape our understanding of the world, those have a profound impact on how we use technology and what kind of future we create.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of stories are we talking about here? And how do they connect to writing, to technology?
Well, one of the most powerful stories of the modern age, I would say, is the story of progress. This idea that economic growth is the answer to most problems, that things should constantly be getting better. We should always be striving for more.
Right. It's like that classic American dream, right?
Yeah.
Bigger houses, faster cars, more stuff.
It's become a global dream. And it's fueled incredible innovation, the steam engine to the internet.
Yeah.
But it's also come at a pretty steep cost.
Okay, like what?
Environmental degradation. Widening inequality, this sense that we're, always running on a treadmill, never satisfied with what we have.
So you're saying the story of progress, this relentless pursuit of growth, it's a bit of a mixed bag.
I think so, yeah. It's brought us amazing things, but it's also created some serious problems. And it brings us to to what Harari calls the digital dilemma.
Okay, the digital dilemma.
Yeah, this new computer network with its vast interconnected web of information, artificial intelligence, it presents these incredible opportunities, but also unprecedented
Right,
risks.
it's like we've entered a whole new chapter in the story of writing, right? We went from clay tablets to the printing press to this global digital network.
It's evolving at an incredible pace, and it's both exhilarating and a little unsettling.
Yeah, I get that.
On the one hand, AI could help us solve some of humanity's most pressing problems.
Oh, okay.
Climate change, disease. Imagine algorithms that can analyze these massive data sets, identify patterns, develop solutions that we humans could never come up with on our own.
It's like having this super intelligent assistant, just working tirelessly behind the scenes, making the world a better place. But I also get the sense that there's a but coming.
Well, yeah, you're right to be cautious. Like any powerful technology, AI also presents potential risks.
Okay.
Algorithmic bias, where AI systems perpetuate existing inequalities, prejudices, and there's the concern about mass unemployment as AI automates more and more jobs.
Okay, so now I am a little nervous. We're talking about algorithms making decisions that impact people's livelihoods, their opportunities, their very lives. It's a lot of power to give to a machine, even a very sophisticated one.
And there's the even bigger, more dystopian concern about digital dictatorships. Imagine a world where algorithms control, everything, healthcare, surveillance, making decisions about our lives based on criteria we don't even understand.
Yeah, it's like that sci-fi scenario, where the machines take over, but it's not a sudden violent takeover. It's like this gradual, almost imperceptible shift. We just hand over more and more control to these seemingly helpful systems.
Yeah.
And then before we know it, we're living in a world where algorithms are calling the shots.
Right, and that's the danger. Harari argues that understanding the limitations of AI, developing ethical frameworks, making sure that its goals are aligned with human values, that's crucial for navigating this new age.
Okay, easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
These algorithms are evolving so rapidly. It's hard to keep up, let alone regulate them effectively.
Mm-hmm.
What can we as individuals even do to make sure AI is used for good, not for bad?
It's a challenge, no doubt, but it starts with awareness. We need to be, critical consumers of information, questioning the sources we rely on, recognizing our own biases, and being wary of those echo chambers, filter bubbles.
Right. It's so easy to get caught up in that flow of information online, to just accept what we see and hear without really questioning that. We need to be more discerning, more thoughtful about the information we consume and share.
And we need to have these open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI. What values do we want these systems to reflect? What are the potential consequences, positive and negative? These are questions we have to grapple with as a society.
So it's not just about writing code. It's like we're writing the future. We're all participants in this story. The choices we make today are going to shape the world of tomorrow.
And that brings us back to, one of the most fundamental things we've talked about today. Writing isn't just about recording facts. It's about creating and sharing stories.
Right.
Those stories shape our beliefs, our values, our sense of identity. Ultimately, they shape our actions. And as we enter this new age of AI, the stories we tell ourselves about technology, about progress, about what it means to be human, these stories are going to be more important than ever.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from the earliest writing systems to the rise of empires, the printing press, and now the challenges and opportunities of AI. It's been a fascinating journey through the history of information. I'm starting to see just how much writing has really shaped the world we live in.
And it's not just about the past, it's about the present and the future. The way we use language, the stories we tell, the information networks we create, these are going to continue to shape civilization for centuries to come.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about the Qin dynasty and their use of writing. You said it had this lasting impact on China's culture and political system. Can you elaborate on that a bit? What are some specific examples of how those early writing practices really shaped the course of Chinese history?
Yeah, so the Qin dynasty They were really big on writing, and that led to this standardized script, unified communication across their whole empire. Huge impact on Chinese culture, fostered this sense of shared identity, and it made it way easier to spread ideas and beliefs.
It's like, how having a common language
Yeah.
unifies a nation. In this case, it was a common writing system that helped unify an empire.
Yeah, exactly. And this emphasis on written communication, it led to this complex bureaucracy. Officials were selected because they knew how to read and write well, not because of their family or social status. This system, meritocracy based on written exams, rigorous training, that became a hallmark of Chinese government for centuries.
So instead of relying on who you knew or how much land you owned, your ability to read and write, that became the key to success. That's pretty different from how most societies worked back then.
Oh yeah, it was a big departure. And this reverence for written knowledge had this huge impact on Chinese culture. Like calligraphy, the art of beautiful writing became super valued. Scholars were revered for their mastery of language and literature. You can still see that respect for the written word in Chinese culture today.
That's fascinating. Makes me wonder if there are other cultures where writing practices had this kind of lasting impact. But before we go too far down that road, I want to circle back to AI. We've talked about the potential risks, but you also mentioned that AI could be a force for good. How could AI be used to benefit humanity?
Well, the possibilities are pretty much endless. AI could help us develop personalized medicine, tailor treatments to individual patients based on, their genes and lifestyle. It could, help us create sustainable energy, optimize transportation, even design smarter cities, cities that are more efficient, more livable.
Wow. Okay. So we're talking about using AI to solve some of the biggest problems facing humanity. It sounds like science fiction, but it's happening right now.
It is. And it's, it's important to remember that AI is a tool, and it's up to us, the humans, to decide how we want to use it. We need to be mindful of the risks, but we should also be, excited about the opportunities.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the fear of the unknown, but we shouldn't let that overshadow all the potential for good. We need to approach AI with both caution and optimism and work to harness its power for everyone's benefit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, it's important to remember that the story of writing is still being written.
Mm-hmm.
As we enter this age of digital information and AI, we're shaping the next chapter. The choices we make now, the stories we tell ourselves about technology and its role in our lives, those are going to, determine the course of human civilization for generations to come.
That's a powerful thought. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the written word, I want to leave you all with this. Think about the written records that structure your own lives. From legal documents to emails,
Yeah.
How does writing shape your decisions, your access to information? And as we move further into this digital age, how can we use writing in its newest digital forms to create a future that reflects our values and our hopes? That's something to think about as we continue our deep dives into these fascinating topics. Until next time.